Have you ever thought about creating, or have you ever recorded a spiritual song at all?
Huh. A righteous spiritual song. That's a good question.
I guess formally, right?
Yeah.
Because so many songs are spiritual in a sense.
Right. I know what you're saying, and I don't know if I have. I mean, I think of a song like Oscar Brown Jr.'s "A Tree in Me," for example, which we recorded on Footprints. I think of that as a spiritual song because it basically talks about the cycles of life and comparing it from a person's to a tree. And please carve no please carve no cold headstone for me, but rather plant a sapling tree. So I think of that as a spiritual song. But as far as like, have I recorded Amazing Grace or not yet?
Got it.
But maybe someday.
Nice. And now tell me, would you say that classical music today, because you grew up playing classical music with your mother, you studied classical music at college. Do you wake up and play classical music these days?
No.
Not at all?
Well, not at all, but it's in my life because my partner, Bill McLaughlin, is a wonderful classical musician, and it's back in my life a lot due to him. Okay. But I still sit down and play sometimes, some of my favorite things that I used to play. And it's interesting because I've never been a good sight reader, and so I think that's really what, when I was a kid, I wasn't aware of it, but that's what drew me to improvisation. So, and I didn't know it was jazz. I just knew that, okay, I have some chord changes here. I could sort of fake my way through this. Now, I don't mean jazz musicians fake their way through things. That's not what I'm saying. But to get away from the printed page and to open your ears and to
not rely
rely on necessarily what's in front of you. Yeah.
Right.
But when you're a classical musician, of course, you need to do that.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I think Bach, he was one of the first improvisers. They had figured bass lines, and then the players would improvise over some of that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I just learned something new. Okay. Oh, fun. And now, when did you discover jazz? Like, when did you fall in love with jazz?
When did I fall in love with
jazz? Right.
Probably in college.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of my classmates turned me on to Nancy Wilson, Thelonious Monk. The list goes on,
Right.
Billie Holiday, and so then I realized I was singing singer-songwriter stuff, and but when I figured out that improvisation was part of that jazz music, and that it was, it's got everything I love: humor, sincerity, a little bit of irony, however you want to do it. Jazz musicians are some of the smartest people I know, and funniest
so
people I know.
Oh my goodness, it's truly.
Yeah, and as your band becomes your family on the road, and you probably with them as much as or more as you are with your blood relations. But so I fell in love, I think, in college when I got turned on to those folks.
Very cool. And that was in Nebraska.
That was in Omaha, yep.
And then you moved to Kansas City.
Actually, I first moved to Minneapolis for about 3 years, and then to Kansas City. Yeah,
Okay.
I had did my time in Minneapolis, and I loved the Twin Cities a lot too. But,
Okay. And it was in Kansas City that you first started recording?
That's right.
Okay.
I met a beautiful core group of players, and one of them is with me tonight, Rod Fleeman on guitar. He's been playing with me for years, and I think I recorded maybe at least 4 or 5 CDs from Kansas City. Kind of a long story there. My first one was I self-produced and put it out myself, and then Concord Records discovered it. Another kind of story, but and then from then on, it wasn't like that. But life is like this. So.
Well, and you've been with Concord off and on throughout your career,
that's
right?
Yeah, mostly. So we recorded, I'm going to say maybe, I'm going to guess at this 8 CDs together.
And so I think I read 12 CDs.
Okay, that's probably better.
That's a trip, because I was looking and I was counting, and that's fantastic. What I really love is that you were selling your own CD, and then Concord discovered it.
Right.
And so you said there's a little story behind that. Is it a great story?
It's a fun story. I mean, this woman, I was playing a gig in Kansas City, and I had just recorded, and I didn't even have the disc with me at the time. It was still being processed or whatever. And she said, "Do you record?" And I said, "Yes, I have something coming out." We exchanged information. She said, "I want to know about it." She lived in San Francisco, and so then when I got it done, and the CD and the checks passed in the mail. There's a lot of trust here, you know. And then she sent it to a DJ, Stan Dunn, and in fact both of those people, her name is Susan and Stan, are dear friends of mine to this day. He was the radio promoter for Concord Records at the time, and he was also a DJ. So he was playing this music on the drive, the 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. People are stuck in their cars, and they were getting calls about it, which is great. And so that's how it unfolded.
Congratulations.